it will just be on a suicidal mission. And that will be the end of us. Now, we are talking about public lands, which belong to all of us. It is important that that premise is understood. Under Article 2571 of the Constitution of Ghana, it provides all public lands in Ghana shall be vested in the president on behalf of and in trust for the people of Ghana. So these are our lands we are talking about. And so all of us must be interested in this discussion as citizens. Now, the malice, which has been properly captured as state capture, the nomenclature state capture, let nobody pretend that I am crying wolf when there is no basis. We have only recently come out of a national campaign to protect our state hotels. The SNIT hotels will have been captured by an individual, they are Greek minister. But for my vigilance, conducting my parliamentary oversight, and rallying the country to protect those hotels. We have seen people die, public officials die, and in their will, we have seen forests, we have seen Ramsar sites. We have seen the institution of architects issue statements that suddenly they are not getting contracts any longer. And it's all the architectural contracts is going to one person, David Ajayi and Associates. I have the statement they issued here. Architects chide government over starving them, gives over 12 contracts to Sir David Ajayi. So state capture manifests under various forms, under various guises, where a few people, what belongs to all of us, they arrogate it to themselves. So this is an important national discussion, which we must really have, because it is about our country. Don't forget something, that the president himself, not too long ago, told this country that he missed out twice on the deadlines for his Agenda 111. During COVID, he promised this country that within a year, radical hospital expansion program. After missing his deadlines on 2 occasions, he came back to tell us that the main reason was because they couldn't find land. If our public lands were not being sold like confetti, the president himself would not have missed his deadlines, and he will not still, as we speak, be struggling with land for Agenda 111. And I have consistently asked that why is it that our forebears procured land, acquired land, preserved them, had land banks for development, for factories. Nobody builds factories in the skies. Nobody will carry out massive industrialization, hospitals, schools, and all of that if you don't have land. So this is a very, very important discussion, and the attempt to engage in cheap political point scoring and wanting to equalize really irks me. And that's what the lands minister has been doing. Now, let me drill down to the evidence. I'll begin with the Bulgarian embassy demolition.
Right. Because we have gone over this before,
yes.
I'd like you to go to the jugular about them.
Yes.
You insist that where we have gotten to, it's becoming a government liability.
Yes.
He insists that this was a private individual's, business, but because it involved an embassy, they had to come in. Where is he wrong?
He is totally wrong, because the dishonesty. You see, I now understand why the minister did everything to prevent us from getting the sole inquiry's report, Justice Oforiate's report. I filed an ITR request. My lawyers wrote to him. He refused to submit that report. And I keep saying that, look, public officials, we spend taxpayer funds to set up these commissions of inquiry. Those reports must be made public. Something, it had to take my ingenuity to intercept the 160-page report, a copy of which I have here. When you read this report, the findings and the recommendations do not support what the lands minister is saying, that purely a private affair. It's not true. Indeed, this report, the Lands Commission has been indicted. If you look at page 122, it has been observed that if the officers who worked on the judgment for cancellation had been diligent in executing their mandate, they would have noticed that the order for cancellation was against Mr. Anson's interests and not the Bulgarians' interests, which is the deed of sublease. It's stated here. Another paragraph, Bulgaria's land title certificate number GA6454 was eventually cancelled. We find that this was fraudulently done. The sole inquirer indicts the Lands Commission when you read this report. And the sole inquirer also says at page 123 that Mr. Jojo Hagan, without the necessary notices to the occupiers, forcibly evicted them, that's the Bulgarians, and caused the demolition of the property without following due process. The demolition was done on 30th March 2017. When the minister says that these are decade-old matters that we are rehashing, it's not true. The appeals court at the time had held that the Bulgarian embassy's premises under the Vienna Convention is the principle of inviolability should be respected. They defied all of that when you read this report. Then paragraph 6.1...
It doesn't change the facts.
No, please, I'm coming there.
Okay.
I'm coming there. Paragraph 6.16. The minister wants to create the impression that, politicians are not involved and that this was, don't bring in state capture. They don't bring people associated to the president here. Read paragraph 6.16. It says, after the demolition, Mr. Jojo Hagan went ahead and assigned the land for the unexpired residue of Leighton's lease to Dr. Yao Eduampuma on 11 December 2018. Dr. Yao Eduampuma went into possession and prepared the land for development. It was in the course of the development that his workers were asked to stop work and subsequently arrested by the Property Fraud Unit. The question, therefore, is who is Dr. Yao Eduampuma? The one who stood to benefit, who was at the center of this whole thing. Is he not the president's appointee at the National Development Planning Commission? He is a politically exposed person.
And he's acquiring a property from an individual.
Who has engaged, conspired with officials at the last commission. The Justice Oforiatta has discovered that they engaged in fraudulent conduct. They were not diligent.
How is that blamable on the government or the ministry?
First of all, the government ought to have protected that enclave, the principle of inviolability. They didn't. The same thing happened with the Nigerians, you remember. And you see, these matters, under international law, is actually a declaration of war. It's an aggressive conduct. Then don't forget that the sole inquirer has revealed the shenanigans that took place between these actors. And as we speak, government has refused to apprehend Jojo Hagan. I filed an urgent question in Parliament. The Attorney General is telling us that they still can't find Jojo Hagan to exert sanctions. Now, as we speak, the Bulgarians are saying that if you can't find Jojo Hagan, then you may have to pay as government.
Why should it be government's business? They took land from an individual, and issues have come up between two individuals, an owner who gave to another individual, and
don't forget the